It's just another bad day, dark feelings are back, assaulting your heart with a panic attack. There ain't no shame in feeling depressed, you need to sit down and talk.
Welcome everybody to the Andy's Man Club podcast. A little bit of a change this week. Unfortunately, we're not joined by Luke this week, so we have two special guests with us this week. Obviously, I'm Andy G. I'm stepping up into Luke's shoes, and I'm joined by a co-host to be something of a familiar face. You've joined us on one or two pods before, haven't you, mate?
I've been on one or two now. Thoroughly enjoyable always, and looking forward to doing this one as well with Jodie.
Lovely. And there we go. Obviously, the second special guest we've got. Do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what it is that you do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Jodie Hill. I'm the founder and managing director of Thrive Law. So I'm a solicitor and we're based in Leeds, and we basically specialise in mental health in the workplace, employment law, HR, all of that stuff that comes with workplace rights. So very busy at the moment with COVID and furlough and all of that jazz. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, one of those words that nobody had learned up until 3 months ago, what it furlough.
Literally.
I would have guessed it was something to do with horse racing, I've got to be honest.
I'm not going to lie, I definitely Googled it when it first came out, and now I'm an expert in it. So
Brilliant.
It's a shame that we're not live then, so people can't be firing in questions to you about hello and stuff.
Hey, maybe we could do that another time.
It's always something we look at doing, and you know we've had sessions as well before where we've had legal advice offered to guys in the sessions as well, so it's definitely something I think we can look at. Obviously, you touched on there as well, obviously with it being the Andy's Man Club podcast, and obviously our roles and things like that. You touched on mental health within the workplace as well, and you've been part of a campaign around that, haven't you?
Yeah, so when I set my firm up a couple of years ago, it was actually born out of myself having had a mental breakdown. And so what I wanted to do when I set the firm up was also make a bit of a change, not just in my own organisation and the firm that I created, but to set up a national campaign to change the law. So the first campaign that I set up was around having mental health first aiders at work and making that mandatory, making sure people were trained, that if someone was having a crisis at work, that they had that support. And that was fortunately heard in Parliament and actually got the sounding board that it needed. But what Parliament was saying was we need something that's more preventative as well as reactive. Obviously, we want to prevent someone becoming in a crisis situation. So we've kind of gone back to the drawing board, and last year we started the One Mind campaign, which is a campaign to call for all workplaces to have mandatory wellbeing and mental health risk assessments. Because if we don't ask the questions of individuals about their wellbeing, then we don't know if they're struggling. And now more than ever, when we're all at home, well, not all at home, but most people are either at home or furloughed or key workers. We're under intense pressure, but we're also not seeing people. So we're not able to see some of those signs that we might have seen if we were in the office or if you're in the workplace. So I think now more than ever, we do need to have mandatory risk assessments. And I think that the government should support businesses with that by providing them with that either templates or some element of support that's funded by government, because if they don't do that, you've got an area of inconsistency, but also it's then how to police it. And I think from my perspective, if we have a consistent approach to wellbeing and mental health, we'll reduce the amount of suicides and we'll reduce the amount of people leaving jobs. So yeah, that was it in a nutshell. It's a big one. It's a big one. I'm really passionate about it. I think it's important to drive change from the top. I think we see a lot of champions and charities and businesses doing stuff, but I think the government need to do something.
Definitely. And that passion comes across. You can see just how passionate you are when you speak about it. And, obviously, the connections thing as well you touched on there, that's something that's been something of a common theme within our podcast, is that everybody's saying how much they're missing just contacts with people. And that sort of, because as fantastic as a medium as this is, obviously we're now sat in 3 separate rooms, in 3 separate houses, in 3 separate towns. And as great as it is, it's just not the same, is it?
No.
But it's great that we've still got this connection, and like I said, I think it's amazing that so many people are wanting to get back out and like you say, have connections with other people.
Yeah.
Just obviously within my Andy's Man Club as well, I go out and speak to an awful lot of organisations. Organisations contact me, and I go out and talk about Andy's Man Club quite often.
Yeah.
And it's clear to me just how many people within these organisations really, really care. I think it's sometimes when the boots on the ground, you get often people sort of saying, they're doing it as a box ticking exercise. They're only doing it because they have to, and have to be seen to be looking after them. I see it different. You know, the people that are employed within these HR roles and these roles that are around, you know, bringing the likes of me in to speak are so passionate, and they want to bring something like ourselves in to talk about Andy's Man Club because they know that, you know, we're not box ticking, we're not taking details, we're not, you know, collating information about guys. How have you found, and you know, obviously within the organisations that you've been in and spoken about this, how have you found the response to it?
So box ticking is a massive thing for me, because I feel like I'm in two camps here. So I think some organisations very much box tick, and they say, oh, you know, we've got a head of diversity and inclusion, and we've got this team, and we've got this training. But the reality is, when you ask the staff are like, they don't care. So I think if you've got a real disconnect between the culture and the values and what they're saying and what they're doing, there's a real problem with tick boxing and actually all of this side of it. But it kind of devalues some of the good work people are doing. But I do think there's been a massive increase, I'd say, over the past couple of years or where we're seeing employers really come to the forefront and leaders leading by example and saying, do you know what, we need to change the culture of our organization. So we're not just ticking a box, not just putting people on a training course. And in order for us to do that, we need to ask our people what they need. And then that kind of brings me back to the assessments, because that's what you're doing effectively. You're asking them, you know, what are your stresses? How do you feel? You know, are you able to cope with your job? And some of the things that the questions that you want to be asking are so much more detailed than simply just putting someone on an awareness day. Because I don't think people, like, awareness days are important, but not in isolation. And I think a more holistic approach where you actually ask people what their issues are, or if they've got any. Some people might not. And I always use the analogy when people have a free fruit Friday for wellness, and I'm like, well, how do you know we're not eating enough fruit? You know, it's just you don't know the answer to that, and actually it's a waste of money. And actually, if you spend that money on something that, so for one of the things that we found, I'll give an example, is when we've worked with a client, they had no idea that actually the main cause of stress and anxiety at work was lack of sleep. So they invested in some training around sleep, and they saw a marked improvement. Now, had they not have done that research, they'd have just cracked on and kept doing yoga sessions. So, you know, it's about actually understanding a little bit in a bit more detail. And if you do just approach it in a tick box way, it's a waste of money, I think, because people see that it's not genuine, and they also don't engage fully with it. And I think you find that a lot. I mean, you guys probably see this around awareness days, where companies will be like, oh, it's mental health day. Let's bring in Andy's Man's Club for the day. But then what next? It's always the what next? What else are you going to do? And I always use, I've got a hashtag where I say, keep the conversation going. And for me, it's really about, first of all, having the conversation, and secondly, keeping that going. And what can businesses do to move more towards that approach of constantly asking the question, not just having a really serious sit down. It's more about the culture. So like for us at Thrive, if I have therapy, like I've got therapy after this, and I'll tell my staff, like, you can't contact me between this and this because I've got therapy. And that's quite open, but a lot of leaders won't do that. So I do think it's important to lead by example as well. And if you're having a bad day, to kind of talk about that and actually build that into part of your culture.
It's quite interesting what you say there about sort of box ticking exercises, because I think a lot of people fall into that trap. And like I say, the fresh fruit Friday and all that kind of stuff looks nice, very gimmicky, actually does nothing. Nothing. Whereas if you're targeting all that money that's spent there into some training about people's sleep patterns to help them and get them more efficient at work and get them enjoying the role more because they're not as bog-eyed when they rock up in the morning. That is money very valuably spent. And then obviously you touched on the mental health, you know, sort of the World Mental Health Day and what have you. And as an Andy's Man Club, we never really focus on that. Because to us, it's 365 days a year. So
exactly.
One day, as much as it gets it to the fore for everybody else across social media platforms, I think we tend to find that a lot of people latch onto things like that. Like, for instance, when Caroline Flack committed suicide, there was a sort of the Be Kind movement that's already been forgotten about, and it was less than 3 or 4 months ago. And look at how many things have gone on since then. And I think a lot of people do it for likes and retweets and shares rather than what it is actually all about. And this is what it's all about, and getting the proper story out there to people.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you on that. And I think there's a massive sensationalization in the media, and I think that's an issue as well, because when it's popular, that's great, but it's about not just. It's a similar thing with the BLM movement. You know, we don't want it to just stop just because it's not popular on social media anymore. You know, we all have mental health, and any one of us could decline at any point, and it's about understanding that I've got PTSD and anxiety, and I've had serious dark times, to the extent I left my job and had a complete breakdown. So, you know, to make sure you don't get back to that point, it's about self-awareness, but it's also about education and empowering people to make those decisions, which I think is partly down to employers, but it's also partly down to us.
Yeah. Well, just to touch on there around those awareness days, it's like you've got to say, as fantastic as they are, because they allow organisations the time to have us in. You know, that's part of it as well. I think that they almost force the hand of an organisation to sort of turn around and say, well, rather than, you know, making sure that everybody's at their workstation at a certain time, we actually have an opportunity here today, or an excuse, if you like, to turn around and say, let's have somebody to talk about it. And, you know, Neil hit the nail on the head as well there, though, that every day is Suicide Prevention Day for Andy's Man Club. And you know, it's 365 days, 7 days a week. Something that was really interesting that you talked about as well yourself there, Jodie, was, and it's something that we talk quite a lot about as well, is stigma. You know, you are really open with your staff and your teams, and you sort of say, therapy. Do you find that really helps to challenge the stigmas within the people that you're surrounded by as well?
100%. I get so many people reach out to me and they're like, you know, I would never tell anyone this, but I feel like I can tell you. And I think if you practice what you preach and you lead by example, you create an open atmosphere and the stigma is removed. But you can only do that if leaders are bought into it. You can't do it from the bottom up. So one of the things that I'm about to launch is, if you might have heard of a charity, This Is Me. So This Is Me is about storytelling by its leaders within organisations sharing their story to empower others to be more open. And we're about to launch the Yorkshire This Is Me, because business leaders need to lead by example, in my view. And if you've got all these fantastic initiatives, even if you do the wellbeing assessments, if your leaders don't believe in it, it becomes a real issue when, you know, that person wants to have a conversation with management, or they're passed for promotion and they think, oh, was that because I told them about my mental health? So there needs to be a connection between what leaders are doing and what the organisation is doing, and into the culture as well. And wherever there's a disconnect, it won't work. And I think that's from my perspective is a challenge for a lot of businesses, because there's the goodwill from a lot of people in the business, but then you've got a couple of people who don't buy into it, because they've never had lived experience, or it's not their problem. But the way I see it is everybody's problem. We all have mental health, and you know, people talk about a bad back, or you know, if they've got flu or something, and there's no one says anything. Especially, I've got a really good example. When people say they've got cancer, people are very sympathetic, people are very supportive. But if you say I've got bipolar, you know, and it's like, but these are both illnesses, and they both deserve the respect, and that individual deserves the respect. And so it's trying to shift that mindset and the automatic reaction as well, I think, that people have. I think it's a real issue still in many workplaces. We do a lot about discrimination at work with employers and employees, so we're still seeing an awful lot, actually. It's really sad.
I think that the comparison you make there between, you know, if somebody said they got cancer and there's the outpouring of emotion from everybody, the bipolar thing is, like you say, it's a deep intake of breath and a walk with away quickly, and sort of not get involved in that conversation.
Absolutely.
But they are both illnesses that kill people.
Yeah, this is it. And if we look at it objectively,
reality of it, they kill people, and it's just about having the mentality. It's probably, I don't know if that's the right word or not for this, but having the mentality to front up on those subjects and be as open and empathetic as we are. Yeah. When somebody's told us they've got cancer or whatever else they've got, it's you know, they're the stories that do need to be told more and do need to be empathised with a lot more.
It's one of those circumstances as well. I don't know if you've both found this, but when I first got involved with Andy's Man Club, and obviously as soon as I'd become involved with AMC, it was all, you know, t-shirts all over the place. You know, I was out there banging the drum. The more open I was to having those conversations and just showing people that I was willing to have a conversation. The amount of people in my previous workplace that approached me, just said, because they know you're open to having that conversation, and it's like you said, both men and women, obviously, I know that we're Andy's Man Club, but the amount of people that were just sort of, I know they're going to be comfortable with talking to me about this, so I feel comfortable talking to them.
And the more conversations you have, it's like a ripple effect, because then they're more open, and then in their network, they're the ones that people approach, and it does have a ripple effect. Like I can't even count how many people I've referred to my therapist, like, because they've come to me and they're like, but how have you gone from having had a breakdown to this, like, running your own law firm? And I'm like, well, I've worked on myself. I've had to acknowledge. I've had to be self-aware. I've had to understand what I can say yes to and not. And actually, it is a journey. It's never ending. But equally, it's really important to like be open about it as well, and show that it's not linear. You know, sometimes it can look amazing on social media, but I mean, anyone that follows me on social media will see that I show the bad times as well. And I think it's really important to be real on social media, because that massively impacts, and people only see the highlight reel, especially now we're all at home. Everyone's just on Instagram, so all you see is the lovely pictures. Well, that's not real. And I think that part of our own self-awareness and our management of our own mental health, we need to take that into consideration.
A lot of it's just actually fluff, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
That's all it is. It's to look at my perfect life.
Yeah, and it's not perfect.
It's not far from it. And I think a lot of people's mental health suffers because of the pressure to look like the Insta model, and to look like, you know, that the Insta family, etc. So that's a really tough one. I think we get a lot of people through our doors where they've got everyday challenges. And the fact that they've now got somewhere to go and talk about these challenges, and the fact that people like yourself within your business are making it, you know, easier to go and speak about these things. I mean, how many times have us three alone, how many times has somebody said to you in the past, how are you doing? And you've gone, oh, I'm not so bad, thanks, how are you? And it's a total lie. You're just lying straight away, because it's the easiest thing to say, because you know that person's not going to be comfortable with the conversation that you really need to have. And
it's also autopilot, isn't it? We really like autopilot. We just go, yeah, I'm fine. And I always say ask 3 times. So I have this like rule, and I'm like, I really, and I always do this with my staff as well, and my friends actually, especially if anyone says I'm fine. Who's fine? No one's fine. You're either like, I don't know. I always say, like, I think it's quite good. You might have seen the form score that Rob Stevenson's done, I think he's called, where he posts on his emails and on his social media what he's rating his mental health out of 10 every day. So when he's emailing people, he's like, do you know what, I'm a 4 and I've not slept very well and blah, blah, blah. So he's really, really open to the extent he scores himself daily. But it's, again, it brings you back to that self-awareness and actually saying, do you know what, if I'm not okay, I'm not okay. And actually acknowledging that.
Well, I said even to the degree of the first time that I ever walked through the door of Andy's Man Club, I'd said to myself, you don't have to talk in here.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to go too deep into the reasons why you're here. Join in, and you know, it was only once we got round to question 3 that I actually got to the stage of going, actually, I feel comfortable enough to actually tell these people, just why I am here, and the things that are going on with myself. Interesting as well that you mentioned This Is Me. Obviously, we're talking today. I don't know if you're aware, Jodie, but today is Andy's Man Club's 4th birthday.
Ah, happy birthday.
And we put a video out.
No cake, come on.
And we've put a video out this morning, actually, and we've used that, obviously, the song This Is Me from
that's so good. Brilliant. I'll share that afterwards. But it's
one of those songs that comes up, and whenever we have a song question about what's a song that, you know, has impacted on your life, something like that, there's always 6 or 7 guys in every single room that say that song, and it just speaks so much about, you know, the circumstance they found themselves in. So it's always a really powerful.
Yeah, when you actually search This Is Me charity, it always comes up with that song, and I'm like, no, we're not. I'd love to say that Hugh Jackman is part of it, but we're not. We're not actually the song. But no, just the words "This Is Me" is like the actual, you know, being that open and saying, you know, this is everything about me. I think it is powerful, and it's so simple. You know, employers can spend, or businesses can spend, so much money on so many different initiatives, but actually just by being open can have even more of an impact than you know, spending thousands and thousands of pounds. I think it's really powerful, really, really powerful. Storytelling for me is, I mean, that's how I grow my business, and that's why This Is Me have asked me to launch in Yorkshire, because it is a London-based charity, but there isn't one in Yorkshire, so we will obviously want Yorkshire to be the best.
Capital of the North. We touched really briefly there on obviously Andy's Man Clubs as well, and it's something that we always do within the session. You're not the first, I'm afraid, Jodie, that we've had a female on the podcast. So it's obviously uncharted territory in lots of ways that we run Andy's Man Club with the opposite gender. But on this occasion, you're lucky because you get to join in with an Andy's Man Club.
Cool.
So I'll pass it over to yourself, Neil, and we'll go into an AMC session, mate.
Do you want me to go full rules, the lot?
Oh, yeah.
Let's go then. Right.
Yep.
Well, welcome to our latest Andy's Man Club session. I'm Neil. I'll be running tonight's session along with Andrew, the co-facilitator, and obviously Jodie will be joining us also. Few rules that we do abide by on an Andy's Man Club Monday night. We don't talk about religion, we don't talk about politics, and we don't talk about medication. You might have an instance around medication that is affecting you at this moment in time. Feel free to talk about that, but just don't mention any medication by name. And there's various reasons for that, which we won't go into, but it has caused major problems in the past. Because we're at home, it's a little bit different to what would be a normal session. So all I'd ask you is that between 7 and 9 on Monday night, normally you're not having a drink when you sat in a fire station or a school classroom or a college room. So please just stick to your coffee and your soft drinks and your water while you're at home as well, please, because that might be a trigger for certain people. So we'll crack on. Question one, as always, is how's your week been? I've got to be honest, I've had a fantastic week. I've had an absolute cracker of a week. And I shall tell you more about that on my question too. So, Andrew, how's your week been?
My week on the whole has been really positive. More based around the weekend, I suppose. The week was the week. It sort of is what it is at the moment, and it's, you know, making sure that we get done what we get done as far as AMC is concerned from home. Did have a couple of days last week actually where I called over to the office, which was nice to sort of get myself out of the the spare bedroom or the man cave as it's sort of turned into. But over the weekend we are getting a puppy a week on Wednesday. Our little
You've
boy.
just won question one.
So good. What kind of dog?
A Cocker Spaniel.
Oh, amazing. Lots of energy.
You could just see he fell in love with it as soon as he clapped eyes on it. And like I said, we're going for it a week on Wednesday. So that was that. And then be delicate talking about this subject with Neil, but football was a positive for me over the course of the weekend as well.
And moving on.
Leeds United fan.
The less said, the better.
Oh, I can see the
If
top.
he makes me friends happy, I'm all for it. So, Jodie, how's your week been?
Really good, thank you. Yeah, I've actually had a really, really good week. It's been for us. It's been difficult because, you know, we've gone to remote working, and my team are quite a junior team, so they do need quite a lot of support. But everyone's been amazing. I've had a really super proud couple of moments this week of the team, and so yeah, we've grown as well. We've taken on we opened a new office in London, which is pretty cool. And yeah, I feel very proud. And it feels a bit weird to say that. I always think, because it's been very up and down. Yeah. So I do think sometimes, you know, because of everything that's going on, I have had that feeling of, I feel a bit bad saying I'm really good, but I am really good. So I'm going to say
it. never feel bad about feeling good.
Yeah.
And like we'd say on a Monday night to the guys as well, it's when you've had a good week, that's a prime time to make sure you come back the following Monday. Because even if you feel really good, come back and let everybody else know. Because there might be a guy in there who's had the worst week ever. And
needs
just
to
seeing
hear
that you've
it.
had a great week,
Yeah.
that can be his trigger to start a fantastic week for himself. So we always encourage people to tell us they've had a good week.
Yeah,
absolutely. So moving on to question 2, a positive from your week. mine's not to do with football. You won't be surprised to hear. I've started a new role recently, volunteering for a company in Barnsley who specialise in buying and selling products to avoid landfill. So my current role is as a charity coordinator, and we give away thousands of pounds worth of stuff every week to various charities. And just this morning, I've actually given away a few grams worth of stuff to Sheffield Women's Aid, who look after abused and homeless women with small children, etc. And also to a couple of street kitchens in Wakefield and Dewsbury have come and got a load of stock offers as well. So free little stuff that avoids landfills and goes and helps in a positive way. So that's my new role, and I'm absolutely buzzing with it at the moment. So I'm very, very happy. Andrew,
brilliant.
We know yours. Moving on.
Positive. Again, I've already talked about it, but it's that puppy and just seeing my. It was great to see just how relaxed the pup was with us as well. The little lad had hold of it, and this dog fell asleep on him. It was
brilliant.
So good.
All over, just go. So like I said, those two have already got a connection. So yeah, it's the puppy. The only problem is with it that we're arguing about names at the moment. So we'll get.
What are the choices? Come on, share the love.
My missus and those two, my missus and my little boy want to go with Bella. But within our family, we have a strange habit of calling pets by human names.
Yeah.
Like, really sort of. So I'd always said that if I got a dog, I'd like to call it Brenda.
I love that.
Not over that. Not over that.
I have a staff member called Bella. So it's a good name.
Yep, definitely.
I think
I've got a rabbit called
Brenda.
Colin. Beat that one.
I love it.
We've already got a cat called Stan, and I thought that to have Stan, they just sound like
they do sound like best mates.
Well, not just pub landlady in the 70s, pub landlord and landlady in the 70s, and
yeah,
it was also Brenda. So
we'll expect pictures when Brenda arrives. Jodie, a positive from your week?
So this week we have hit 1,500 free advices for our free advice line for coronavirus. So when we went into lockdown, we basically set up a free advice line because we were like, well, we kind of know the answers to quite a lot of this stuff, and people were really anxious, really worried about their jobs, and employers too, worried about doing it wrong. So we set up a free advice line, and we've over 1,500 people we've hit this. We've helped for free since lockdown, which is just awesome.
That's phenomenal. A lot of minds put at rest there.
Well, that was really the focus of the helpline. I'm happy to share it with you guys, and you can pop it in the comments as well, so people can use it if they need to.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, absolutely, we'll do that.
Thank you.
So moving on to question 3, and this is one where normally all the good stuff comes out. Question 3 is: have you got anything to get off your chest? And I'll be honest, for the first time in a while, I've not. My week's been. I've just had a really good week, so I've not really got anything to get off my chest. It's bothering me as such. So yeah, I'll pass that one over to you, Mr. Greenway.
Well, I think we're going to have a quick round 3 here because I'm in exactly the same boat.
I think. I was going to say, I think I agree. I agree with you as well. I think, although what I would say is, what's with this weather? Because I'd quite like the sun to come back. Because I'm not going to lie, having 1 or 2 days sun is all right, but then I'm working all day, so raining on the weekend is not the one. So that's why I'm having a beef
followed by
about
9 days solid rain.
Yeah, exactly.
Really no,
exactly.
I did need it to cool down a little bit. Actually, I was absolutely. I think Wednesday or Thursday.
Oh, it was too much
as well. So I was just like streaming from my eyes. I felt really lethargic. So
I think just no rain would be good.
Yeah, dry. We'll settle for
just dry. I'll just do dry, because I've got to take the dog out.
I wasn't complaining, don't get me wrong. I like the sunshine. Yeah. I did need it to cool down for a day or two.
Yeah.
So moving on then, on to question 4. And the first obviously stay the same every week, but question 4 and 5, always a little bit different. Question 4, we try and make you think a little bit. So if you could learn one more skill or hobby, what would it be and why? I don't know if I could learn this now, but when I've watched, we've done quite a lot of stuff online over this lockdown, and I've seen Mr. Greenway in particular away on his guitar and what have you.
Nice.
I'm always in awe of somebody who can play a musical instrument, and it's something that I wish I'd done when I was a lot younger. So possibly, yeah, do something like learn to play guitar, just to give me that sort of. I love music. I just love music. I'm music 24/7. I'd rather have music than television. But yeah, learning the guitar I think can be one. So
never too late, mate.
For you, Andy.
Never too late. You can always give it a go, can't you?
You're going to teach me.
There we go. Synergy.
My answer to this question is, obviously you've just touched on it there. I do play the guitar, but only to a very rudimentary level. I can only sort of play to entertain myself, and you know, I play the sort of same 5 or 6 songs that I've been playing for the last 5 years on a loop. And every time I pick up my guitar, my missus turns around and goes, "Oh, don't play that bloody song again." So,
do you know what though? That's the classic self-deprecating thing that we all do. When we've got a talent for something, we tend to play it down a bit, don't we?
Yeah.
Rather than take the plaudits for it. And I think it's easy. We all do that really well, and that's exactly what you've just done. So I'm not having that one at all. You should be really chuffed yourself what you can do on the guitar.
You're having it because, like I say, it's something that I want to develop. I want to sort of either have more guitar lessons or, you know, something of that nature where I can just, you know, work my way down the fretboard a little bit or something like that. So yeah, it's a hobby that I already have, but I want to move at it and get better at it.
I look forward to hearing some more tunes. So Jodie, one more skill or hobby. Why?
I would like to, and I keep saying this, I'd really like to learn Italian. I want to travel around Italy and eat loads of pizza, drink loads of wine. But I want to be able to order it properly. But no, when I was at school, I studied French and German and Spanish, and I never took any of them to a high enough level. And so I was like, right, I'm going to just start with, and I said this at the beginning of the year, and I still haven't done it. But yeah, if I could have one thing, it'd be just to be fluent in a language, and I'd pick Italian, I think.
Brilliant. Love it. Yeah, love it. Thanks. So moving on to question 5. If you were on Mastermind, what would your specialist subject be? I've thrown this one in, haven't I? What do I know most about? I don't know. Probably. Is
there a specific subject, like categories that you have to pick?
Anything that you like. Anything that you like. So I'll go for, just because I've got a lot of knowledge on it and it's absolutely useless to anybody else, Huddersfield Town. Just because I know a lot about them, sadly. Nice. But that's what it is. Yeah, that'd be mine.
It is utterly useless.
It is utterly useless.
In more ways than one, it's utterly useless.
I see the rivalry now. I understand.
The friendly one, though. It's a friendly one. Not.
Hello. We've got a visitor. Sorry.
Oh, hi.
That's all right.
What can I do for you? I'll have to get you some milk when we go get you home from work. You have to have some water. There we go. Real and raw. It is what it is. You don't do editing, so my little lad's just made his probably 3rd or 4th appearance on the Andy's Club podcast. I think he always makes an appearance. But so yeah, my specialised subject would be probably. I don't want to go down the Leeds United one just because you've taken Huddersfield Town, so I'll probably go with something like Alan Partridge. I could probably do a good mastermind on Alan.
I love it.
Yeah. Alan Partridge quotes, because I think I managed to bring an Alan Partridge quote into most parts of my life. So
brilliant. I love it.
Yeah.
Jodie,
I think mine would be pretty sad, really, because it'd probably be employment law. Because I'm like obsessed, and you know, and I've been doing so much stuff in terms of like the media and reading up all the judgments and all the guidance and stuff. I literally could ask me any question, I'll probably know the answer. So yeah, I'd take that.
It's not sad. You'd win.
I'd win.
It's all about winning. You know,
oh well, then I'd take it.
Winning. So yeah, employment law.
Employment law, tick. Yeah.
And that's it. That's you've just been through your first Andy's Man Club. That's just what it is on a Monday night, exactly like that. So we get all kinds of. That's exactly what we get. The answers can range from hilarious to heartbreaking. We have every possible emotion that comes out, and that's why it works. It's just a great place to be on a Monday. Love it.
Amazing.
Definitely.
Back over to you, Mr. G.
Go into the podcast. You know, we're all about sort of breaking those walls down and making people feel as comfortable as possible. And if people can see it here before obviously walking through the doors of a session, it might might reach out to one guy that comes through the door. So, you know, we like throwing it in as part of our podcast as well. So that brings us sort of close towards the end, but we do have just a little bit that we sign off on. I don't know if you've watched any of the other podcasts that we've done, Jodie. You don't have to say yes just to flatter us either.
I haven't.
So finish off with it'll come as a nice surprise then. We finish off with something called 3, 2, 1. And you know, we always sort of do a 3, 2, 1. But it's sort of just 3 things. The first one is 3 things that you do to promote positive mental health for yourself.
So 3 things that I personally do to promote positive mental health for myself. So exercise is a really key one for me. My routine, so my morning routine, I get up very early and I journal and do gratitude. That's probably more than 3. All of those. I'm walking my dog. But yeah, my entire day is built around what works for me and my mental health. And I work best in the mornings. So my morning routine is for me so important. And if I get that right, it doesn't matter what happens at the rest of the day because I've got the bits I need to get done and I've done the bits for my mental health. So you can, that's how I focus it.
It's actually really interesting. You mentioned
that's
the journal
such a consistent.
Sorry, Andy, go on.
It's all right, mate. I was just saying it's such a consistent message that we get as part of the podcast. There's so many people saying exercise, routine, and things like that just do so much for so many people. Yeah. And it's until you'd sort of, I think they're quite easily, like we talked about earlier with the people at Box Chick and things like that, they're quite easily dismissed and you can sort of turn around and go, it doesn't matter if I get up 20 minutes later, I'll catch up later on. But just to make sure that you've done that little win in the morning, you've started the same way is so powerful.
So powerful.
Yeah, that. Go on, Neil, you were saying, mate.
I forgot what I was saying. Memory's part of the goal.
I love it.
I'm sure it'll come back to you if it was important, mate.
It would, yeah. It can't be.
So, and number 2 is 2 pieces of advice, either that you've been given or that you like to sort of pass out to others that have helped you at some point or you feel might help others.
Yeah, I think consistency is key when it comes to your mental health. And that kind of comes down to my exercise. So I know that if I only just do it as and when, and I don't do it at the right times of the day, it doesn't have the same impact. So the consistency around the things that work well, I think is really, really powerful. And even if it's only 5-10 minutes a day of something that is good for you, do it consistently rather than doing like an hour one day and then not doing anything. So yeah, the power of consistency. And then the other thing I would probably say is about being kind to yourself. I think we're our own worst critics. And obviously the theme this year for Mental Health Week was be kind, but it's a very powerful message because we speak to ourselves in ways that we would never speak to other people. So I do think it's really important that we consider what some of those thoughts and words are that we actually put on ourselves. And we, if you wouldn't speak to someone else like that, don't speak to yourself like that. So be kind.
Yeah, I like that.
Brilliant. I love that. It's something as well that quite a lot of the guys that walk through the doors of our session, obviously at this moment in time, I'm facilitating our newbies group.
Yeah.
So while we're running online, we've got a group just set aside for guys that have never been to ANDYSMANCLUB before.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of guys, and especially last night was one of the big ones where a lot of the guys were sort of saying, I feel so bad about making these choices in the past and things like that. The amount of times that we do try to hammer home to you guys that don't beat yourself up for it. It's a situation you found yourself in. You can't control the past, but you can control the future. And it's yeah, definitely. It's one of the it's a pearls of wisdom that Luke imparts onto me as well quite often is the control the controllables.
So absolutely,
control what you can control. So
that's one of those that we use a lot on a Monday night. Obviously at 7 o'clock, what happened before 7 o'clock on a Monday night has gone. And there's no point dwelling on that. So we try and get the guys to focus on from this minute on, this is what we can change and this is what we can affect. What's gone's gone. And just move on and do the best you can moving forward. Back to you, Mr. J.
Definitely. And the last one, number one, is what's something that's made you properly smile recently? Like really smile? Like
so my dog got a haircut and he's just so cute. And we cut his little nose hair and he just if you've got a dog, you'll know what I mean. But it just looks amazing. If anyone follows me on Instagram, have a look. He just looks so good. He's called Baxter off of Anchorman. If anyone's seen Anchorman, they'll know who I mean. He eats a whole wheel of cheese and he speaks Spanish.
So that sort of brings us to a head as far as the podcast is concerned. Just to sort of say thank you so much, Jodie, for joining us. I know that it's taken us a little bit of time to get here, through my sort of ineptitude, I suppose.
No. Busy diaries, COVID, we'll blame it on that.
Yeah, definitely. But no, thank you so much for joining us, and for I wish you every single success with the campaign, and obviously with This Is Me as well. And thanks so much for your support.
No, thank you so much for having me. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Another bad day, dark feelings are back, assaulting your heart with a panic attack. There ain't no shame in feeling depressed. You need to sit down and talk, son, get it off your chest. It's just another bad day, dark feelings are back, assaulting your heart with a panic attack. There ain't no shame in feeling depressed. You need to sit down and talk, son, get it off